Of this beautiful day to you, my dear viewers. The title of my story for today is The Joko Pelumi That I Know. Right Honourable Jokotola Pelumi is a barrister at law and former Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly. After the era of Senator Olorunnibe, he was the one that came into power. And that was a time that most of the laws governing the lands of Lagos were being worked on. He was very instrumental to making jurisprudence and other related issues very, very good in Lagos. Now, what do I have to say about Barrister Jokotola Pelumi, or better still, Right Honourable Jokotola Pelumi? I met Right Honourable Jokotola Pelumi in Kwara State, precisely Yipata Youth Camp, during our youth service in Kwara State in 1988. He just came back at that time from England, where he had studied law, and he had had his law school before he travelled back. So by the time he came back, he just came to join us at Yipata Youth Camp in Ilorin, Kwara State, Nigeria. One thing that struck me very well about Right Honourable Jokotola Pelumi was that immediately he stepped on Yipata soil, because we met there. He was friendly to all. He had no boundaries in friendship. Everybody loved him. He loved everybody. He was generous to a fault. He made friends with everybody, despite that he was older than many of us. He made friends with us, was very generous. You know, his level of magnanimity and benevolence was extreme, unequaled. And he was good in sports, good in every activity on the camp. He was there. Everybody loved him. Now, throughout the camp, he had many friends. He made so many friends, despite that he was older than us, than most of us, like I said. And one way or the other, myself too, I graduated from University of Ilorin and came to serve at the same Kwara State. So we met at Yipata Youth Camp and we struck friendship. And most importantly, by the time we were finishing at the camp, he found me singularly worthy. He said, "Sticky, I'm going to leave this camp with you." So we left the camp together, on the day we were dispersing. Myself and him left Yipata Youth Camp for Ilorin in pursuance of our primary assignment. Funny enough, and quite fortunately, the two of us were posted to Kwara Polytechnic, Ilorin. Myself to the biology department, himself to the law department. And we went to Kwara Polytechnic, Ilorin. That same day we left Kwara Yipata Youth Camp, in pursuance of our primary assignment. Okay, I got to Kwara Poly, went to biology department. I was taken, I was welcome, I was accepted. Then we went to the law department. He was rejected, not because of incompetence, but the fact that the person who was in charge of law there, the highest person, maybe the person in charge of the Department of Law at the Kwara State Polytechnic, was junior to him at the law school. So I feel that one felt a bit inferior, and decided that he wasn't going to take him. So we left. We went into town at Ilorin. We were going here and there, trying to see what to do concerning his. And then finally, he was taken at the Kwara State Ministry of Justice. Our friendship continued. And of course, when we sorted that, we had a problem initially of where to stay. Despite that I finished from Ilorin, most of my friends were no longer at Ilorin and all that. So we had a problem of where to stay. And I remember that some of my friends who read medicine were still at Agwoba in Ilorin, in their temporary site. So I decided, let's go to my friend's place. A very good friend of mine, Folagbade Bello, FCB. Folakata Bello was at that time in clinicals at Agboba was running his clinicals then. So myself and Jokotola went ahead to his flats in Agboba. That time he had the 3-bedroom flat where maybe about 6 students or thereabouts occupied, 2 in a room. So we got to Folagbade Bello's room in the apartment. He welcomed us. Folagbade Bello was my mate, my very close friend, my closest friend and mate at FGC Udugbulu in the 70s. We left each other again at Fego, and then we met again at Unilorin. Later on when I came into Unilorin, he was already a medical student. We met there, and when I was going to do my service, he was still doing his housemanship at Ilorin. And that was how Fola Bello vacated his bed for myself and Joko Pelumi. We were there for days, and everybody, by the time we got there, in fact, Joko Pelumi has an air around him that everybody will love him just at first sight, because the way he will bring himself to you, he will not lift up his shoulders, despite how good looking, despite how brilliant, despite how resourceful he was down to earth with everybody. So everybody loved him, and I was very proud of him, and that he decided to choose me as a friend, despite how much younger I was to him. He would say, "Sticky," I was so troublesome, and he liked me for that, at that time. So that was how we stayed at Agboba for some time until we left Fola Bello's apartment to go stay in different places. He was staying somewhere and I was staying at another place. We still continued our friendship until we left Ilorin. So when we were leaving Ilorin, we left together again for Lagos. I followed him to his Surulere abode, and then from there I left for Festac. So somehow we lost contact. At that time there was no GSM and things like that. Then when it was, we hadn't lost contact initially. After Ilorin, after the service, he started a law firm, Pelumi Babaoye and Co. He was using his dad's home at Shomolu for that. So I used to go see him, still continue our friendship. I met with his family and everything. So along the line, we lost contact. We couldn't see for some time, and well, later on, I just heard in the news that he was Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly. I said, Jokotola Pelumi, my same friend, and that was it. Some of my friends told. I met some of my friends. I said, Sticky, your friend is the Speaker at the Lagos State House of Assembly. Now, why don't you go and see him? So I just decided one day, this is where the news is. Decided one day I was going to see him. No invitation, no previous appointment or whatever. I just got myself well dressed as usual. I wouldn't want to go anywhere without being smartly dressed. I got myself dressed and I proceeded to Lagos State House of Assembly. And lo and behold, I got to the place. I was directed. I asked for his office. I got close to his office. I met with one of the secretaries, and I told him I wanted to see Barrister Jokotola Pelumi. And that one looked at me and on top of me. He knew I was well dressed. I wasn't looking bad, but he was just wondering why this small boy would come and say he was just looking for. He said, "Any previous appointment?" I said, "None." He said, "Then who are you to?" I said, "He's my friend. We served together at Kwara Polytechnic." So I learned he's become the Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly, and I decided I wanted to see him. So the lady looked at me and said I should sit down. I was there for over an hour, and at that particular day there were so many people. That's one thing about Jokotola. He draws the crowd. A lot of big old men came from his constituency. That was the day they came to visit him. More than 30 of them, all around, hanging around. They were with him doing meetings. So suddenly one of the guys came from inside after my name was taken in, came from inside and said he beckoned at me that I should come. Do you believe me that it is what happened that day? If anybody gave me 10 million naira, I wouldn't be happier than that day. Could you believe what Right Honourable Jokotola Pelumi did? As I was ushered into his office, the presence of everybody, he stood up, he shouted, "Stike, long time, where have you been?" My head grew up. You know how somebody's head grows? I was happy, I was elated, I felt like in another planet, that I could be so honored. Everybody looked at me, they smiled, and of course, thank God I was looking. I don't waste time to look good. I can't go anywhere looking dirty, so I was looking okay. So he said, what's up? He's busy today. I must come back. I must come back. And that was, we talked. And he again took me to the open office and called, while people were waiting for him, and called his staff and introduced them to me. Anytime you see him, let him come in. Siki was my friend, my very good friend. We served together in Kwara in Kwara State of Nigeria. He introduced me to all of them. Please, how many people can actually do that in an era where somebody becomes a very tall person in the society and shuns those he grew up with? Jokotola Pelumi will never do that. Some other people that went to see him also said the same thing about him. So, and that was how we met, and I was going to see him regularly. Then he said, "What can I do?" I said, I was in the media. I said, I can do something on the media concerning the House of Assembly. And instantly he called on the chairman in charge of media in the House of Assembly and introduced me to him. He said I should go and do a proposal. So I brought a very thick proposal to Right Honourable Pelumi. He handed it over. He liked it. He okayed it. He handed it over to that chairman of the media committee. And of course, work was about to start. I was coming in. I was having meetings with that chairman towards what I was going to do concerning the House of Assembly. But lo and behold, and quite unfortunately, just as I was on that job, he had to leave. People. One thing about Joko Pelumi, I've always said, he's one of the politicians I have as friends that I don't refer to as politicians. Joko Pelumi is an administrator by nature. You see, the qualities of an administrator are different from the qualities of a politician. The qualities of an administrator are those qualities I just mentioned about Jokotola Pelumi at the beginning of this conversation. So basically, you see, I wasn't able to pull through with the project. But till tomorrow, I thank him immensely for making that move for me. Yes, he's not the only person one knows that is in government. There are a lot of people in government who will just keep promising. After some time, you never see them again. Jokotola Pelumi was not like that. He's never like that. Up to today, we communicate, we meet, we discuss. He talks with me. He promises things that are good, and he's doing what he can do. So Barrister Jokotola Pelumi, or better still, Right Honourable Jokotola Pelumi, is an enigma, a special person, a down-to-earth person. If we had people like that in corridors of power and they are allowed to stay, Nigeria would have moved forward. We have charlatans, we have mediocres all over the place, and that is where we have problems. People who don't have pity on other people. Up till now, in his homestead at Agbowa, he has little children. He brings up, sponsors them in school, does a lot of. They come around his house to sit down. He feeds them. He does everything. Clothes them. Does everything. The people of his constituency, so many of them, he pays school fees of their children. He helps them in all ramifications. Those are the kinds of people we want. And that's why I'm doing this video, to let people know and let others be encouraged to do what these people are doing. Another friend I have that I'm going to do something on next, has been in government, is Dr. Abdul Fattah Ahmed, former governor of Kwara State. That's another down-to-earth person, but his story is for another time. Somebody who is also an administrator, a friend who remains a friend no matter what his status is, a friend who called you say sticky while you were in the university, and you still met him when you visited him as a governor. He still referred to you as say sticky. That is a human being. That is a man to reckon with. And up to tomorrow, he's still the same person. Everybody says the same thing about him. He has never let the officialdom get into his head. Brings his friends in, they play as if they were still in the university. That's Dr. Abdul Fattah Ahmed for you. But right now I'm talking about Right Honourable Jokotola Pelumi. Very playful, very nice, very accommodating. He will do anything for you. He will do anything for you. If he has a naira, he can give it to you while he goes hungry. That is Jokotola Pelumi for you. And for those who know his dad Adrika, he must have inherited that from his dad, because his dad too was a general, community leader on Lagos Island in his own days as a politician and as an elder statesman. So no wonder he also inherited that kind of trait. So that's Jokotola Pelumi. That is Right Honourable Jokotola Pelumi, a man I cherish so much, and I thank God that I'm making this report while with the title "The Jokotola Pelumi I Know," not that I said the Jokotola Pelumi I knew. That means I'm grateful to God that I'm alive to be able to say this about a friend, and that friend too is alive. You'll be able to listen to this video live, digest, ruminate, and do everything about it and be happy about it. That is mine for today. I am Ojomo, Olusegun Adebambo. Remain blessed and wait for my next episode. Thank you.